You're watching the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. This is Daily Dive. That's Adam Levi on a Monday. Thanks for sticking it out with us, man. How you been?
Good. It was a fantastic weekend. Family is still here. Our middle child is going back to Ottawa tomorrow. So it's just going to be me, Nikki, and Preston for the next couple of months. But it's been great being with the family, seeing my parents, and enjoying the holidays.
How was your last week just since Christmas and just now? Like how's everybody's doing good?
Yeah, everyone's doing great. It's been hectic for sure, especially living in New York City. It's one of the busiest places in the world during Christmas time, during New Year's. I will never go down to Times Square and do that whole song and dance with all those million people, who, however many are there. That's just crazy. But we watched it on the TV, and the fireworks, man, were they loud. They were very loud.
That's awesome. There were some fireworks here in the rurals, but I mean, I'm sure it was nothing compared to what you heard and saw. Um, I saw pressing out a lacrosse stick. That was pretty cool. Although I think the video you posted was kind of like fixed a little bit, but I like the lacrosse stick thing.
Well, we were hoping to get an action shot, so we did get one, which was great. And he's been working on his stick work for a little bit now. But the stick was given by Evan Cree, who runs
Yeah.
the company Traditional Lacrosse, making the traditional hand crafted sticks to connect with the history of the game, which is something that I'm a huge supporter of. Not only the roots of the game, but really I had a talk with Oren Lyons, the great Oren Lyons, who, as you're around lacrosse more, you'll learn about his importance in the game, with the indigenous players in particular. And he was talking about how much has changed from the original versions of lacrosse, and how what we see today is more of an entertainment version, which is still very necessary, and it's a way to connect us with the sport. But then, going back to the stick, it's just cool to be more attached with the roots.
Yeah, the stick was pretty nice. I ain't gonna lie. It looks like it's very handcrafted. It looks very polished. That was awesome to see the glimpses that we did see of it.
Yeah,
Preston did pretty good on his picks this week, right?
he did. I have to say, and I'm glad that you mentioned picks, because producer Joe is the winner of Preston's picks week 5, so he will be receiving, unfortunately for him, a
Right.
Zach Higgins signed ball. He had messaged me when he found out what the prize was going to be. He said, "That sounds cool, but I can I get a better player?" Well, Zach proved him wrong and had 53 saves over the weekend, one of his best outings of his National Lacrosse League career, and helped Philly to an unbelievable victory with major pieces out of the lineup. Probably one of the most improbable wins of the season so far.
Oh, I'm 1000% down with that. And I want to get to our game recaps now. And by the way, we were gonna try this Friday, but I know you're down with this, and I know we are too. I know you're so this should be fun. Basically, we got 3 minutes to talk about every single game, and we're just gonna do. We got 7 games on the slate. I want to make sure we do this correctly here. So, Adam, the way this works is we're actually going to do this like correctly. So, if you're talking about a game, you or I will not shut up. Timer's going to restart. Up next game. It doesn't even matter. So, I hope this will be fun for you.
Love
And
it.
let's get into that Wings game first, if you want to.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible performance by Philadelphia. They had not led the entire game. And then in overtime, the unlikely hero of Jack Jasinski, Alabama born player, really coming through in the clutch. And you saw so many different pieces there just deliver for Philadelphia. I think I had tweeted out something like the defense had 3 goals and 6 assists. Mitch Jones, an MVP like performance, 4 goals,
Mm-hmm.
4 assists. Joe Rezateritz, the huge historic moment for Americans in box lacrosse, passing Casey Powell now with 676 points, and that is just going to continue to go up and up and up. And it's just crazy to see what he's doing in his career at this stage of his career, back to back 100-point seasons. And this year, I think he's on pace for another 100+ point season. And, he's now in his mid 30s. So to be doing that kind of production is just wild. And then, of course, Zach Higgins, unbelievable. I'm a huge fan of Zach. I got to know him really well over the summer with the New Westminster Salmon Bellies, out
That's
in
right.
British Columbia. such a nice guy, great parents, new dad too. I do envy him because he was saying that he has no trouble putting his daughter to sleep and having her sleep through the night. I cannot say I have the same thing with Preston,
Yeah.
even to this day. So I envy him for that. But to be a new dad and to be playing as well as he is, it's just so cool to see that happen to such a good guy. And for Halifax, it's tough for them. You would love for them to have not given up the lead as many times as they did. They scored a ton of goals, but that defense is way better than giving up 16 goals. And I don't. I've always been very consistent, and I'm not going to jump on anyone too hard on one week. But I think that they're not going to let that happen again. Just like I don't think that Buffalo was going to allow 17 goals again this season like they did against Albany, and I don't think they will, even in their loss to Georgia, and we'll talk about that soon. They only let up 9 goals. So I think that this was a bit of a fluke, especially in Halifax, for them to lose that way. It's unfortunate that they're not undefeated anymore, but I imagine that this is going to be a loss that really gives them a kick in the pants, and they're going to be like, wow, we gave up 16 goals to a team without Holden Katoni and Blaze Reardon. Like, I'm not sure that that's acceptable for them.
I know the Wings offense has been balanced. But as for the Wings defensive side, you mentioned Zach Higgins. How about 68 shots? That's just getting peppered. And like you said, still came through at 53 saves. Joe Resitaris, I think since he passed for Casey Powell, it's only right we get a lacrosse video game from him now. But what do I know?
Yeah, no, let's make it happen. I'm all on board for that new video game.
I am too. All right, let's do this one now. Hold on. Let's try how to work this thing. There we go. Okay, we've already started. Who cares? Swarm Bandits. Okay, so the Swarm did win 9-8. And what I thought was low key, I thought the Wings were shocking. When the Swarm did what they did, I thought the only way Swarm in this game was if Brett Dobson goes save for the entire game. He did just that with Matt Vince. And what a performance. 0 goals for Dane Smith, though. What is the thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Brett Dobson, 46 saves, so good. And let's be real about this Georgia Swarm team. We were thrown off a little bit because they started last year so poorly. I believe it was 0-7. But then they reeled off so many wins, almost made the postseason. And I was looking into it. In their last 15 regular season games, that goes back to last year, they're 11-4. That is really, really good. And this year, you look at the pieces that are coming together. Shane Jackson's still elite. Lyle Thompson's still elite. You got Jordan McIntosh in his mid-30s having a stellar year defensively, adding a ton of points. I think he has like 9 points and 7 caused turnovers and a handful of block shots and a ton of loose balls as well. He's just doing it all. And that's incredible to see. A really spread, balanced offense, a really good, young, athletic defense. And a fantastic goaltender in net. Brett Dobson, so far, I think, is the most consistent goaltender we've seen so far this year. And to especially at the level that he's playing, which is just awesome to see. But again, just so weird and uncharacteristic to see Buffalo only score 8 goals. I just mentioned how weird it was for them to give up 17. Well, now we're on the other side of things, and they only scored 8. So I hope they can turn it around. This is a very weird, uncharted territory for them to be 1-2 after 3 games. They've got to find answers, and they've got to find them quick because there's a lot of tough teams in this league.
1,000% agree with everything you said. And Dane Smith, he did have 0 goals, but he also had 7 assists to his credits. So you mentioned the Bandits, they're 1-2. It's uncharted territory, unified standings. Is it? To me, I'm going to brush this aside right now, as they played the Firewolves in their first game, together as a unit. They played the Seals, who are no slouch. They played the Swarm, who apparently are no slouch either. But you feel like you said, 9 goals. You feel like you should win that game, right?
Yes, I think that, the Swarm are feeling really good right now. They're having a great start to their season. But, and I know that defensively the Bandits are missing some pieces, but this wasn't a defensive problem. This was an offensive thing. Now, I will say even further for Dane Smith, I believe his numbers are so crazy. It's like 1 goal and 19 assists this season.
Good thing we can't help our Dane anymore. We got to go to the next one, sir. Good job, though. That's right. See, that was fun. Seals
we're
defeat the
making it work.
Nighthawks. Right. Seals defeat the Nighthawks 17-14. Wow. That game had goals galore. And is Rochester the best offense before we get to San Diego side?
It's an interesting question, to be honest. They're playing really well. I would say that the production you're seeing from Ryan Smith, on top of what Connor Fields is doing, has been incredibly impressive. Definitely, they're one of the best duos in the National Lacrosse League, and they've been the most consistent. Again, when we talk about the level at which their offense has been producing, one of the most consistent offenses so far this year. So it's been incredible to see. But yeah, 25 goals out of just Fields and Ryan Smith is a really lethal combination right there. So really impressive. It was kind of their first really tough test of the season, going against San Diego. And I have a lot of faith in my podcast episode this week, on the Lacrosse Matrix podcast. Is going to be with Riley Hutchcraft, the goaltender who was in net for that entire game against the Seals. He obviously was backing up Rylan Hartley before Hartley had that injury, and at least the word from the team, and I know that they're trying to be cautious and protective of Hartley, is that they're monitoring on a daily basis. But if you're dealing with head injuries and potentially concussions, and a guy who has multiple concussions, that can be a very treacherous territory to kind of work around. So I really hope that Hutchcraft can kind of own that starting position and bounce back from this. And I think you'll hear in my episode of the Lacrosse Matrix podcast that he feels confident and ready to go, because he was the backup for Nick Rose for several years in Toronto.
My New Year's resolution is to listen to Lacrosse Matrix for the first time. So Westberg, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points, is definitely one of our 3-star candidates. How good was the Seals offense side of things? I mean, they were great.
They're unbelievable, and they have been for a long time. And you got Dane Doby, and he had one of the highlight reel goals of the weekend, which was just phenomenal. But and I know that actually, I think Cooper Perkins has said this, whether it's on Twitter or other platforms, how Westberg really doesn't get enough love for everything that he does. Great season last year, a real good elite player. Now he's played with Curtis Dixon and Dane Doby, which means he might get overshadowed a little bit. But now he's having a great year, and he's been a real focal point of that offense. But yeah, with those 3 guys, and then I haven't even mentioned Austin Stotts, who looks really good. He looks quick. He looks athletic. He looks focused. He looks in some of the best overall shape and condition that I've seen him in his career in the National.
Good thoughts on Austin Stotts there. We got to go to the Mammoth and the Warriors. This is going great, by the way. It's 12-11 in overtime. Mammoth won. Vancouver led 5-0, and then 11-5 after 3. But that darn Loud House, man, incredible.
Incredible is right. Yeah, it's the Mammoth are one of those teams. I was looking at it, and it was one of those things where I think it was the third time that the Mammoth have come back from like 6 goals down just against the Vancouver Warriors since 2018. It used to be West rivals, always great matchups between these two clubs, the coaching matchups, and you saw it go a little, I want to say, mini viral. Austin Owens had put out the video of Kurt Malosky and then Pat Coyle arguing at the refs and looking at each other. They're great friends off the floor, know each other so well. What a matchup there. Colorado, man, did they need that win? If they fell to 0-3 and lost the way that they looked like they were going to lose at halftime, that would have been brutal at home like that to the Warriors, who are a great team, a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, in my opinion, so far. But I think that this win, what I'll tell you, I know Coach Malosky, I've had amazing conversations with him. I would not have wanted to be in that locker room after that game. He's a very honest man. He's a very caring and kind man, and knows how to relate to players when he has to. But he'll also let you know how he's feeling. And I'm telling you, he was not feeling good after that loss. And so I think it's going to really kind of change things for the Warriors. And also just kudos to the Mammoth for shutting down Kevin Crowley after 5 goals within.
That was insane stat by you.
Oh my God. It was so sad. I had a tweet that I was going to be putting out. It was about his last sock trick, which was actually back in 2016 with the New England Black Wolves. I had that set up in the second
Wow.
quarter, and I was like, I'm going to post it. It's going to happen. He's going to score one more goal. And then he never did. But shutting him down, and Crowley didn't even get one other point after that fifth goal. So it was really amazing comeback performance. Again, not leading at all in that game. Really incredible, gutsy win by the Mammoth.
I know you're not a big controversial guy, but Adam, darn it. Tyler Carlson, did we just create a goalie controversy in Colorado? Because Pat Coyle, I know we allowed 8 goals, but Pat Coyle was like, this is enough is enough. And Tyler Carlson came in and showed up. How'd that look for you? It's one game, but still.
It's amazing when you have your backup goalies. We just talked about Hutchcraft doing that, and Carlson is such a big team guy, and he said it at the end, like he'll do whatever it takes for the team to win, and if that means Dylan Ward starting, which again, let's put the brakes on that for a second. Dylan Ward having a very uncharacteristic, weird start to his season. He was injured, and that plays a part, but he is still one of the best goalies in the league. So let's just say that he'll bounce back.
Very good, Adam. We have 2 seconds to spare. Next game we go.
It's learning it on the fly. It's good.
Love it. I just like shutting you up. I'm kidding. I don't. Okay, Rock are 3-0. Riptide are 0-3. Gross. And we're going to get to the Riptide in a minute here. But for this game specifically, Nick Rose was good. But God forbid, were the Riptide having offense, Adam?
Yeah. It's so interesting, and I actually wrote about this in my 5 things that we learned column for Inside Lacrosse's IL Indoor. Yes, the offense struggled mightily for the majority of the game, but I like to always look at the positive. And there was a 14-minute stretch there that when the Riptide went on their run, they outscored the Rock 6-3. Now I know the score at that time was 8-1, and so the Rock aren't really going to go out and put it all, but it was the way that the Riptide came back. You had that amazing pass from Ron John to Connor Kiernan, shorthanded to score. Then you had that incredible one of goal of the year candidates from Stephen Keogh. You had a lot of
beautiful.
Oh, it was amazing. And to score 6 goals in 14 minutes, especially, you can say, okay, the Rock, they took a step back or whatever because they didn't want to overexert themselves. Nick Rose is still a net. They don't like to lose. They don't like to give up goals, and they're a great defense, and they scored 6 and 14. And they did it really nicely. So how can they do that for 60 minutes? And that's the coach is always going to ask. We need to have 60-minute performances. How do we do that? Coaches like Pat Coyle and Kurt Malosky, they say we break it down by shift. We don't look at things big picture. We take every moment as it is right in front of us and then only think about it that way. And maybe, that's what was happening in those 14 minutes, but it was a really great spot for the Riptide. And I hope they can produce that more little chunks like that as the season goes on.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. This is not Adam Levy's thoughts; these are mine. But lacrosse is such a game of runs, and boy, dare I say, diarrhea is the runs for the Riptide.
Oh, that's good. That's one of the best lines I've heard in regards to runs in lacrosse. So well done on that one.
It's a good tweet by me. So I thought Jeff Teat actually looked good. I liked it. He was attacking. Like there was so much perimeter in the first few games. Jeff Teat really did a good job. I was doing a live stream watching the game. It was fun. Quesadillas, by the way.
Yeah, and look, he is an elite player, but and I forget who said it. Maybe it was Pat Gregoire who was on the broadcast, and they were breaking down Jeff Teat's start to the season. And let's look at the numbers. I mean, yes, he had a good game in week 5, but he's still got 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points in 3 games. Those are good numbers. If it were anybody else, we'd be like, wow, they're having a nice start to their season. But it's Jeff Teat. So, I hope he can continue to have big games because the Riptide are going to need that.
He's just on the grass, dude. He's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
2 good ones in a row there. We're really stringing it together now.
Happy for us. Roughnecks beat the Dogs 17-11. Listen, I'm all for Calgary doing better, but God, their defense, Lord, are they missing Malowski a little bit? 11 goals in the worst offense is rough.
It's a team that has overgone a lot of adjustments. And this is something that could have been said for the Vancouver Warriors as well. When you overhaul your entire coaching staff, it's
Yeah.
That's difficult, to do. And, you have your head coach who is, and this is not for me necessarily to provide the most insight on, but guys who have maybe played or been around the game, they can tell you maybe if having a guy as your head coach who is offensively focused, maybe your offense will tend to be a little better. And then maybe if they're a defense guy, maybe they'll be a little bit better on the defense. And when you got a guy like Josh Sanderson, who is a big assist guy, I think that that's huge for the Roughnecks in terms of they have a very talented offense, and you saw that on display. Yes, against a team that struggles in the Desert Dogs, but you got to win the games that you got to win, and they did it really well. And it wasn't really even at times when the score line was close, it didn't feel as close as it was. I feel through most of that game. I was never really concerned about the Roughnecks, and so I liked what I saw from them, and I hope that they can continue to win. Because again, very weird situation to see them at 1-2. This year is bizarre in terms of how things are starting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings. Like, I feel like Vancouver's better than what they are. I feel like Buffalo was still one of the best teams. It's like can't tell in the standings. I mean, good lord.
Oh my goodness, it is a very, very strange year. And I think that the city of Las Vegas is really going to need to string together or to have this team string together a few wins to really get things going. And there's a lot of good pieces. They're great on Casey Jackson for scoring his 100th goal.
Hey,
That was awesome, and he's a great guy. Been around the league for a minute, so kudos to him. I work with Reed Reinhold when I do stuff for the NLL Players Association. Really good guy, and his brother Tor on there on the
yeah.
team as well, and he's been having a good year. Was great last year. So they've got some pieces. Jack Hanna, great young talent,
Mm-hmm.
really driven, and I have to say I give a little bit of a plug. He does BC tour with US Boxla,
I
helping.
saw that.
Yeah, and that's with Dallas Elliott too. I'm sure I think he's chirped at you a couple times, and Dallas is known to chirp
I didn't
when
even
he
know
has
that.
an opinion about something. Yeah, he's a very talented goalie from back in the '90s, and he thinks that he's a very good goaltender, and he was a very good goaltender. So he knows the difference between the past and what we're seeing now from our goaltenders.
What is the username for him? Because I don't think it's Dallas Elliott. I feel like it's something else.
No, Dallas Elliott, that's his name. Or
Oh,
you
it
mean
looks like a
what is his Twitter? His Twitter
yeah.
is I think it's God of Goaltending.
Okay, we'll leave that alone. Okay, Albany took on the Rush last night. I'm sorry, I forgot there was a Sunday game, but there was. I did
Mhm.
watch the replay of it a little bit. Firewolves, good lord! I always say when the Firewolves can do this little trick where they can score a bunch, but when they're not scoring, Doug Jameson's doing Captain Save Us again. This is a team we should have literally thought about more. Rush had him, man. Rush really had him, and Ethan Walker said, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah. So, it's interesting. I love this Albany team is having this storyline. It's one of the great
Mhm.
storylines that we've seen. Although I have to say we did see it last year also with the Nighthawks, which is great to see. And so it
Yeah.
looks like the Albany Firewolves are this year's Rochester Nighthawks. Maybe they'll have a little bit more success, but really, I love those guys. Love that young group. I've been around them up in Albany for a couple games, and it's or in Albany for a game, and then down in Philadelphia. Really good group. They're just going out there playing really hard, tough lacrosse. They're really focused. But I will say that there's some giving up that lead to Saskatchewan. Who Saskatchewan's an okay team, but they're not one of the elite teams right now in the National Lacrosse League. They have the potential with the pieces they have to grow into that. But to give that lead up and then to almost lose, it just shows that they are human, and that had that been Buffalo who was rolling, or a San Diego who was looking really good, or a Toronto, would those teams have closed out that victory and given Albany the loss? And so it definitely exposed, I think, a little bit there. Saskatchewan, I think they're young. I had said preseason that I think that they're going to surprise a few people. Well, it's a little bit slow to start, but
Yeah.
they definitely have a lot of great pieces there, and I do think that Chiliano is going to really find a rhythm, and as the season goes on, and I think he'll be a great goalie for them.
Bandwagon Teddy Jenner, that's Coach C. Pat Guar, by the way, said Ewok ends it. I love the name
Yeah.
Ewok. Also, you tweeted out this: the Albany Firewolves, Alex Simmons is your 2023-24 NLL Rookie of the Year and MVP, which I do believe we should put in more MVP conversations. Simmons won 2023 and is about to win 2024. You need an Alex Simmons jersey, sir.
Yeah, I've had some good conversations with Alex. Really like him. Big fan of his. Very mature kid with a good head on his shoulders. Really talented guy out there. I was very excited and pumped up about the win. And so obviously, if you read that now back, it's like, oh, okay, that's a big, bold statement. But let's look at the numbers. Guy is balling out, and he's a big reason why they're having a lot of success.
Great work, Adam. Very good, Adam Levi.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not like what you did when Preston shot his ball. I'm not amused. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, you wanted to get to some teams a little bit more in depth here. We still have time.
Mm-hmm.
One of them you mentioned is let's get to the home team Swarm here. Big Swarm guy over here. We're buzzing 3-1. Loud Thompson looked good. The whole team. I mean, is it all Brett Dobson defense? What's going on with the Swarm, man? They're good.
The Swarm, I mean, we've been talking about it for a few years now, and I'm just going to look up some of these numbers here, but it's a really good young defense. Adam Wiedemann, such a strong, good player. But then, just that spread offense, I was looking at it. You got 5 guys with 5 or more goals. You've got Shane Jackson and Lyle Thompson combined 20 goals and 22 assists in 4 games. So to have that kind of production from your 2 players, you've got Seth Oakes, who's delivering, Bomberry, who's delivering. Again, I feel like they're a team where you watch them and they just don't look like they're phased by any of the teams that they're playing. They just go out, they do their business. They love being out on the floor. They love playing together. And when you don't let the other stuff get in the way, it really makes things very easy. When you start to get in your head, and, I would say from a fan's perspective, you can see it sometimes when the nerves hit or when you feel like you're trying to climb a mountain to get a win. It doesn't necessarily feel like the Swarm have looked that way this season. And, I think that they've seen, as I mentioned, the success they've had over the last 15 games, and they're just going to keep riding it because they found a formula that works for them, and it's going to be great.
Let's do this little game here. So Brett Dobson is a top blank goalie in the NLL. I had him as top 5, and I think he could be top 3, top 2.
I would say that I'd say he's a top 5 goalie. I would say that it's when you know that you're going to be putting Nick Rose and Christian Del Bianco in that top 3, and then there's Matt Vince, and then some people might put in a Doug Jamieson.
Yeah.
It starts to get tricky, but the way that he's coming into his own and really becoming that consistent goaltender over that last, this winning stretch going back to last season, he is definitely on the precipice of being that. Now, what I would say is that I would put him top 3 if you're talking about goaltenders who play field and box in net.
Right.
Then I would say that he's top 3.
That's a fair point. He's because he just went with the Utah Archers. Great location there. I'm sorry. Okay. Next team we want to get to is your hometown. Well, hometown. I say hometown because you're not the Riptide. Obviously, you're more of a Wings guy. It feels like.
I mean, I love the Wings, and I know a lot of those guys. I know Mitch from New Westminster and Vancouver. I know Zach from there. I've followed the Catonis and written a lot of articles on them. And I talk with their dad on social media every once in a while. Really good guy. Know Zach Higgins' parents, and they're all. So I do have a lot of connections, with those guys more so than, let's say, the Riptide. But also Tyson Geik is with the Riptide, and he, without Tyson Geik, and I will say, let me just say that without Tyson Geik, I would not be where I am in this in this career. He started
Wow.
Lacrosse Flash, which I think was before you saw it a little bit last year.
Yeah.
But it was very different in its original form. There was a lot of video pieces and a lot of you had some of the best people in lacrosse media on there. You had Pat Gregoire, Teddy Jenner, Austin Owen was there, Ty Merrow, myself. It was great, and then there were others as well along the way, and it was an amazing project, and that gave me a platform to write all the things that I wrote at the time, and gave me a lot of validation being in the same group as those guys I just mentioned. So I owe a lot to Tyson for that. Really good guy. It's nice to have him out here in the New York area. So yeah, I wanted to give a quick shout out, I guess, to Tyson, but I really do hope that the Riptide, figure it out, because Long Island is a hotbed of lacrosse, whether it's field or box. People love lacrosse, and there's a lot of potential. Hofstra University is right across the street from the arena. You've got Adelphi University, which is my alma mater, a Division II field lacrosse program, very successful at different periods of time, just down the road from Hofstra. You got Stony Brook, who's a little bit further out on Long Island, a Division I program. And these are just lacrosse colleges. Then you've got the high schools. So there's potential there, and I really hope that things come together in the best way possible, because Rich Lisk and Dan Ladisor and all those guys, they're nice people. I really like them as individuals, and I want them to have success.
Seems like everybody in the NLL is like a nice guy. It's good to hear.
Well,
it's a good thing.
I would also just turn it around and say that there's a lot of nice guys, but the people you don't hear people talk about, those are not the not nice guys, and people just don't say, "Oh, they're not a nice guy." They just don't talk about them.
So my son and producer Joe have said that, like, the Riptide. I mean, you're right. It's Long Island. It's got the. I mean, every sport has a New York team, like the New York City teams. I mean, what do you think the Riptide maybe can do? I mean, what's going on with the Riptides? I mean, tennis is a big deal in the NLL. And would you think winning would help, or what's going on?
Of course, winning always helps bring fans in. I think that it's, and who was it? I think it was John Rappaport of NLL.com did a piece on this, about, what is the market that the Riptide are trying to approach. And sure, there is a massive market just on the actual island of Long Island, which gets into Manhattan. When we're talking about Queens and Brooklyn, you're talking about 5 million people right there. Then Manhattan, just down the road, you got another 1.7 or 1.8 million people. So there is a huge portion of New York City people that could come out to games, but there's also, I think there's millions of people also on Long Island as a whole. And so that population, you look at, smaller markets like Albany and Rochester, or things like that. The overall market of Long Island is similar size, if not even bigger in terms of population. And it's one that knows lacrosse. So really, I think targeting those schools, those organizations that are out there, I think is really key. But also have to say, it's been really cool. I do some work with City Lax Lacrosse, which is a nonprofit here, now run by Eamon McEnany, who's a well-known broadcaster for lacrosse, does some stuff on SNY regularly as well, and started by a good family friend in Matt Levine. I know that City Lax has done some really good work with the Riptide, and seeing those outreach programs is an amazing thing to see.
Adam Levi, we appreciate you joining us. One more thing I want to get to is we're going to play a little game, these little trophies, okay? I just want to bring this out. Okay, so who wins the MVP right now if the season ended today? In your mind, who wins the NLL Cup?
So
if the season ended right now, playoffs started.
Had Rochester beaten San Diego in San Diego, I would have given it to Connor Fields.
Okay.
If you look at his point total, but more importantly, his loose ball totals, he's one of the best. I mean, I think statistically over the last 2 years is the best loose ball getting forward in the National Lacrosse League. And you love to see a guy just go out there and do the hustle stats when they're also producing a lot of points. But then I really, as per my tweet, you know, Alex Simmons has been awesome.
Agreed.
Now, that's also not to diminish that Albany offense has
Well,
been very balanced. You had Ethan Walker, you
right.
got Tom Hurts, and you got Marshall Palace and other guys out there. It's been a real team effort. Like, don't get that wrong. But Alex Simmons has been incredible, and he's usually been one of the leaders, if not the leaders in points each game. So I would give it to him.
Love it. Who wins it? But
Who
who wins the
wins?
whole thing?
Right now, so it's a little bit of a caveat because I want to say Toronto, they're
Mm,
undefeated. However, you look at who they played, and then you start to say, okay, well, maybe they should have been 3-0. And now
right.
you look at who they're going to play. They're going to play Georgia. They're going to play Buffalo. I think they're playing San Diego as well, or another really tough team in that stretch. So, if they come out of that and they're 6-0 or 5-1, okay, then they're the Rock that we expected them. Now, also the Rock, the games that they've been winning, they're winning easily.
You're
Sure,
right.
you can say that Panther City gave them a little bit of a challenge, but again, that was a game where I don't think I was ever concerned about the result with the Rock. But the way that they handled Philadelphia, the way that they handled the Riptide, it's not just winning the games that you need to win; it's controlling those games and
Right.
and doing what you need to. And they've been so elite. But again, had Halifax won, I would have said maybe Halifax.
But who have
Um,
they beaten?
yeah. So but The Rock, we had so many high hopes for them in the beginning of the season. They are who we thought they are, and that's without Tom Schreiber and without
That's
Chris
insane.
Russell. Like that lineup is just unreal. So I
Yeah,
would
Mark
say
Matthews is a good goal scorer all of a sudden, not just a passer.
right, and
Crazy.
underrated goal scorer. I think he's got. I had tweeted something out. He's got over 350 goals scored, but over 600 assists. There's only like 10 or 11 guys in NLL history who have hit both of those numbers. And
Right.
350 goals is nothing to slouch at. So
Mm-mm.
he's been very capable. It's just he's been so dynamic as a passer that people have kind of overlooked what he does as a scorer.
Adam Levi, I'd say that we kind of made up for Friday's show and probably then some. I mean, who needs a
Yeah.
timer when we talk for 40 minutes? But good job to you, sir. Thank you
Yeah,
for coming
no,
on.
it's always great to chat with you, and it's always great to have this platform. And again, huge congratulations to producer Joe for winning his favorite player's sign ball. So, he's going to have that, in a little box, Zach Higgins. I'm going to see Zach next weekend, so I'll let Zach know how much of a fan producer Joe is of his game, and it'll be great. So yeah,
Oh.
it's always great to join you, Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Tell Preston he's awesome, and you guys have a good rest of your week.
Thank you, man. And I will say that had Saskatchewan won, producer Joe would have finished behind Preston in Preston's picks. Uh,
Oh,
the little kid's doing well. I think he's in 9th place overall. And let's remember, I am giving away season tickets for the overall winner, but that means you still have to beat Preston. So let's just say if Preston does better than everyone else who's competing, well, nobody gets the season tickets. So you better hope he starts
right.
picking wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to move to Buffalo quickly, actually, if I want to win this whole thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
I ain't driving 4 hours every week. But
All right,
thanks
Mike.
so much,
Well,
man.
thank you so much again, and happy New Year and happy holidays. Thank you. I also love the watch party. Keep doing those if you've got the
Those are
time.
fun.
I know you love the camera and you love letting your opinions be heard, and don't let anyone silence you about that. So if you want to do, who was it? I think it was Mr. Beast who did a thing early in his career where he counted to like a bazillion or whatever it was
You're crazy.
when he was watching a show. You could just do that and just talk about lacrosse for a week straight. Never
I'll
go off
watch.
screen.
I'll watch a Riptide game if I get bored. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And Adam Levy, you're awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.